Part 3 of the narcissist. This is the most dangerous, I think, because if you're in a situation where you're renting out a place, and of course the landlord lives on the same property as you, it's a very difficult situation anyway. Whereas it's the same principle of what I said before, the honeymoon period, empty promises or promises that never be kept. Yeah, no, this will be done. Don't worry about this, and everything's cool. And in the beginning, it's like you get to know the landlord, and become friends, if you want to call it that. And then it's like you end up thinking to yourself, you know what, you just want to be in your own space. You just want to break away from everybody. So you start just removing yourself from the conversations and get-togethers, the braai, of course. Not because you want to be antisocial, but it's just you want your own space. And so in the end of the day, that can also be damning to you, because that means that you are not, entertaining, the narcissist. You're not fueling him. And of course, this is a problem. You're not fulfilling what he wants you to do, if you want to call it that, because you become, from what pure experience, you become an item to the narcissist. And if you don't fulfill that, obligation of that item, you are nothing. So, in the end of the day, it's like if you have a situation where there's like a confrontation or a issue that gets brought up that is a very serious issue, could be using an example that has happened, like confrontation where the landlord himself gets up into a personal space, and so close that you can feel the spit on your face. We're talking about that close. It becomes a question of, okay, step back, and what do you do then? And if you've lived in the place for quite a few years, it's very difficult to suddenly just pack up and leave, although one wants to. So you just get yourself even more into your cocoon space, if you want to call it that. Yes, one can, like in a situation, report it to somebody else, but like in the case again, the other person didn't really want to hear anything, so there's no real safety. You are basically on your own. I know I seem like I'm waffling along about it, but it's a very serious situation. And of course, if you dare bring anybody else into the situation, an outside source, where another violation has been committed, where it's a question of privacy, then you've been shunned. You get punished and you get shunned, and you become the lowest life form that there is possible on this earth. You don't exist anymore, and they throw insults at you left, right and center, and you will be punished. So if you are in a landlord situation and you actually find out very early on in your tenancy that the landlord is narcissist or has narcissistic tendencies, I would say move as quickly as possible. Move as quickly as possible and get away from, very far away from the person. Break all contact if you can, and if you have to, do everything in writing, get everything on black and white. But yeah, rather just stay very far away from a person like that, because it's just gonna, I'm telling you, you don't want to go through, that. Nobody wants to go through that, and it's not a very nice thing to go through. So yes, just be aware, because you must remember, not only do they thrive on the power, then suddenly they thrive on the thinking, because they're now a landlord, that they've got even more power. And that is a very, very dangerous combination.